300 passengers boarded a routine 2016 flight to Dubai. It ended with the aircraft slammed onto the runway and sliding 800 meters on its belly, entirely engulfed in flames. While every passenger walked away, the disaster still claimed the life of one heroic first responder. The aircraft operating Flight 521 was a Boeing 777-300. In 13 years of service, it had logged nearly 60,000 flight hours across the globe without a single major mechanical fault. In the left seat was a 34-year-old Emirati captain. He reached this rank a decade faster than the industry average, but his training record contained two specific notes. Evaluators observed the habit of flaring, raising the plane's nose for landing, slightly too early. They also noted that under intense pressure in the simulator, he developed tunnel vision, locking onto a single task while ignoring surrounding instruments. On paper, the pilot and the machine were highly reliable. Aviation disasters usually emerge from the precise alignment of human habits and a hidden environmental trap. On the afternoon of August 3rd, the temperature in Dubai peaked at 48 degrees Celsius. That intense heat, combining with two local low-pressure systems, caused the normal afternoon sea breeze to suddenly and completely stall out. This created a boundary of aggressively shifting winds, a wind shear hanging invisibly over the approach path. The 777's predictive radar fires pulses from the nose, bouncing off moisture like rain to calculate wind speed. But summer in Dubai has zero moisture. The pulses fire into empty space, returning absolutely no data to the cockpit. Even without radar, the crew could have been warned from the ground. Minutes before Flight 521 arrived, air traffic control watched two separate aircraft abort their landings due to this wind shear. Because local tower and approach frequencies are separate, the crew of 521 never heard those transmissions. Controllers, accustomed to standard summer weather cautions, never explicitly relayed the danger. Stripped of radar by the dry atmosphere and isolated by separate radio frequencies, the pilots flew blindly into a trap they were already inside. A few hundred meters from the runway, Flight 521 crosses the invisible boundary. The wind shifts from a tailwind to a headwind. Because airplanes generate lift by moving air over their wings, this sudden surge of air over the nose increases the lift, causing the massive aircraft to float past its target touchdown zone. The captain, fighting to control the sudden surge in altitude, relies on muscle memory. He pulls back on the yoke to initiate the landing flare, but he starts the maneuver 10 feet higher than standard procedure dictates. This diagram shows what happens next. Because the aircraft is hovering so close to the concrete, the air trapped between the massive wings and the hot runway physically compresses. This creates a high-pressure cushion known as ground effect, forcing the plane even further upward. Simultaneously, the plane's internal flight computers sense the altitude dropping past 25 feet. Assuming the aircraft is about to settle onto the tarmac, the automated systems pull the engine throttles back to idle. The lift from the wind shear, the high flare, and the cushion of ground effect lock the 777 into a zombie state. It is flying too slowly to climb, but generating too much lift to land, burning through critical runway space. Deep into the runway, a sudden gust rolls the aircraft to the right. For a fraction of a second, the right main landing gear touches the concrete. That tiny physical contact causes the plane's computer to instantly switch from air mode to ground mode. This triggers a piece of automated Boeing safety logic. To prevent an aircraft from accidentally accelerating after a pilot has landed, ground mode immediately disables the toga, or takeoff go-around switches, located on the thrust levers. The captain, unaware the wheels briefly brush the tarmac, decides he has floated too far and needs to abort. He presses the now dead toga switches and pulls back on the yoke to lift the nose. At this moment, the captain's tunnel vision returns. He hyper-focuses on the pitch of the aircraft, terrified that pulling up too sharply will strike the tail against the runway. With his eyes locked outside, he fails to realize the auto-throttle never engaged. The manual thrust levers under his hand sat silently at idle. Without engine power, the 777 coasts upward to 85 feet on borrowed momentum. It bleeds off its remaining airspeed, stalls, and falls out of the sky. The jet slams back onto the runway, sliding 800 meters in a shower of sparks and tearing metal. A flawlessly executing computer logic completely misunderstood the physical reality of the airplane, overlapping with a pilot who focused on the flight controls while the engines produced nothing. The moment the battered fuselage grinds to a halt, the right engine tears away from the wing, igniting a massive fuel fire. Inside the cabin, evacuation protocols break down. Searing winds blow escape slides flat against the fuselage, and multiple exits are engulfed in flames. But rather than moving to the doors, panicked passengers jam the aisles, stopping to retrieve their overhead luggage. An aircraft evacuation is designed for a 90-second window. This one lasted nearly 7 minutes. Despite the delay, all 300 passengers and crew members exited the burning hull alive. This survival rate highlights the resilience of modern aircraft design. Even when human panic disrupts safety protocols, the structural integrity of the exits can still prevent mass casualties. But the runway was not entirely spared. 9 minutes after the aircraft stopped, the center fuel tank exploded. The blast claimed the life of firefighter Jassim El-Balushi, who stood his ground fighting the flames from the very first second. This crash forced 3 permanent changes in aviation. Boeing now mandates that pilots physically verify thrust lever movement during a go-around. Dubai Air Traffic Control actively broadcasts aborted landings to all incoming traffic. And Emirates retrained its crews to treat routine weather cautions as active threats. While procedural failures and automated logic tore the aircraft apart, the unwavering courage of the first responders ensured the passengers lived to see tomorrow.